video. I'm just now getting around to editing the footage of us catching chickens and processing chickens. Right now my computer had kind of been on the fritz, but kind of got that worked out a bit, so that's coming along. But I figured I would split the catching of the chickens from the processing, because the processing video looks like it's going to be kind of long. So I figured we'd leave this video separate so that people can come back to this and see how we catch chickens using Joel Salatin style chicken tractors without having to crawl down on our hands and knees and get all slimy and grimy in the chicken manure in the middle of the night or during the day. So without further ado, I'll stick my headphones on. I have the video in front of me. We'll go through it and I'll just kind of talk about what we're doing, narrate it a little bit, and then I might come in and add a couple tips and tricks that we learned, or things that we wish that we would have done differently to make it easier. Also going to talk about transport crates, the importance of having chicken transport crates, the density at which you load them with chickens, so how many chickens per crate, and whatever else I can think of that will help you guys, so that when you go to do this yourself, or if you're doing it already, you get useful information that can help you do it quicker, save your back, and save you time. So let's get into it. Alright, I'll open it up here and go. So we loaded up the chicken crates in a pickup and a bobcat that we have. It's like a side-by-side, and those are what we use to kind of corral the chickens once we lift up the chicken tractors. If you want to grab the wheels, so we can stick them under this and get this one out of the way. So that's my brother Avram over there. Him and I get about the center of gravity of the chicken tractor so that it doesn't tip one way or the other, and that takes a little bit of practice knowing where the center of gravity of your structure is going to be. But as you can see, we just lift it straight up, walk it past the chickens, and then just set it back down. And we're doing this at night so that the chickens are much less flighty. They're much less excited and likely to fly away from you. They're much easier to catch, and it's a lot less stress on the birds that way. So as you can see, we just kind of make a corral with the chicken crates here, just to kind of keep the birds in one spot and get your chicken crates closer to your chickens. The closer your crates are to your chickens, the less back and forth you have to do. That's going to save you a lot of time and save you a lot of bending your back. As you can see, what we're doing is we just kind of stay bent over and just grab several chickens without standing back up. The up and down kind of hurts your back, especially if you're catching a bunch of chickens. And we're catching 150, so two shelters worth of chickens, 75 per shelter, a total of 150. So we have 20 transport crates, and we fit, well, let me do a little bit of quick math here. So that's 7.5. So we were putting 7 to 8 birds in each crate when it was warm at the beginning of the summer. There was 1 or 2 days that we processed, or maybe 1 or 2 times that we processed, where we had like 4 extra crates because it was much colder. So we felt that we could put more birds in without them getting too warm. So the last days we processed, the highs were like, I want to say 40. And that was the high for the day. And of course we're starting in the morning, so when we get out there it is below freezing. And the birds can handle that as long as they're out of the wind. So the night we're catching these, it's not super duper cold, but it's a little chilly. And we're going out there at about 11 o'clock, and we are putting them in the crates a little more densely than we would if it was hot. Right? In the summertime, if it's like, we processed one time and it was like, oh, chair squeaking. It was like 70, 65, 70 degrees at night. So it was hot and muggy at night. And we wanted to make sure that the birds were not going to get too hot, that they weren't going to suffocate up against each other in the crates. And they probably wouldn't have if we would have put, 9 in a crate. but we just wanted to play it on the safe side, so we put 7 or 8 birds per crate, so that they filled all 20 transport crates. So that's a good rule of thumb. We process these guys at 7.5, 8 weeks, right around there, and the size of the birds varied throughout the summer. So we did 3 batches near the beginning, middle, and end of the summer, and the sizes, our average size of bird varied pretty kind of dramatically throughout the summer. Our first run we averaged 5.6. The second run we averaged, I want to say, close to that, 5.8 or something, maybe around 6 pounds. Then our average for our third run was 7 pounds. And so the size of your bird is going to dictate how many birds you can fit in a crate. The bigger they are, the less you can fit in there, or the tighter they're going to be. So that's something to keep in mind. It's better to have too many crates and not need them. Like we thought we didn't need those 4 crates we didn't fill, but then it got hot, and then we put less birds per crate, and we filled all 20. So that's something to keep in mind when you're getting transport crates. These things are necessary for the amount of birds we did. We did 900 this summer, and if we didn't have these transport crates, it would have been near impossible to do what we did this summer. They are pretty pricey. I think these cost around $60-65 a piece. So you add that up, then we had 20 of them. That's a lot of money, but we paid for them this first year. We paid for all of our equipment in this first year, and it is absolutely worth the investment, especially when they're going to last 10, 15, 20 years if you take care of them. Keep them out of the sun when you're not using them, and keep them clean, all that stuff. Take care of your equipment. So one thing to keep in mind is when you're putting the chickens in the crate, they go in much easier if you put their head in first. Now, I'm not saying like just drop them in on their head, but they're going to go where their head is, if that makes sense. So if you stick its head underneath the crate, it wants to go forward. Chickens don't back up a whole lot. They just want to go forward where they know there's a clear path. So if you stick their head underneath the door of the crate, put them inside, get their head underneath, they're more likely to just walk forward into the edges so that you can fill them into the crate really easily. It might be nice to have a thick pair of gloves also. The chickens, especially the big roosters, these guys are really strong. You wouldn't think it, but the chickens are pretty strong. So a good heavy pair of gloves, and I just wore rubber gloves. That's another thing. You can get pretty messy if you're loading chickens. You get a little bit of manure on your hand. If you have a rubber glove, it's super easy to just get your hands dirty once you're done, take them off, so that when you get in your vehicle to drive your chickens to where they're going to go, you're not getting manure and stuff all over the steering wheel and the shifting column and all that stuff. Also, something else that would have been helpful is some sort of handle on the side of the chicken tractor to lift it up. We were having a little bit of trouble being able to get our hands underneath the sides of the chicken tractor to lift them up and move them. So if you had some sort of, even just a rope, or the barrels we used to make the killing cones came from a 15-gallon barrel that had a handle on the top, and I cut out a square around that handle so that we have like a loose handle that we can screw onto the side of the chicken tractor. So those are good to save if you're making killing cones like I showed you guys in that one video. Those are really handy to just stick a couple screws through that plastic handle in the side, so that you have something to lift up on to get your hands underneath to lift that chicken tractor up and move it away from the chickens so that you can get to them really easily. Another thing to keep in mind is that when you're stacking these chicken crates on one on top of the other, or we stacked them 4 high to drive them to where we were processing, and when we unloaded them we only stacked them 3 high, and that's just so that they're not pooping all over each other. So we took these guys off feed about 18 hours before we process. Actually, it's about 20 hours. I've heard anywhere from 12 to 24 hours. We found in our experience that about 20, 22 hours is about perfect. Otherwise, what you get is very poopy chickens if you're stacking crates on top of each other. So if you're staging them next to your processing area and you have them stacked 4 high, if you don't take their feed away, those chickens are going to be full of feed and they're going to be pooping all night. And so when you go out there to process, you're going to have manure all over your chickens. And when you are gutting them, they are much, much more likely to squirt out of their vent and get poop all over the people who are gutting your chickens, and that's no fun. Does not smell great. So we take feed away at about 22 hours or so, give or take, before we process them, so that when we stack them and stage them in these chicken crates, it keeps the chickens a lot cleaner. You don't have manure all over them getting all stinky. They're not breathing that in as they're waiting overnight to be processed. And it keeps your crates a lot cleaner, and it keeps your evisceration station a lot more sanitary, clean, keeps the people who are helping you more happy. So that's another tip, is to pull feed away to keep this whole process a lot more clean and keep the birds a lot cleaner. Another thing to keep an eye on is when you are stacking the crates on top of each other, be very mindful of the chicken's toes that may be sticking through the grates. If you have a crate here and you have a chicken toe in here, and say you're sliding this along onto another crate, you are going to pinch that claw as you're sliding it. And we had one chicken, it only happened once, but we had one chicken that I was not being mindful of lifting up the back. Let me get some like visuals here. Here's my paint pens, and here's a jar of peanut butter. So if you have this crate, what is a good idea is once you get this edge onto this crate, lift up your back so that when you slide over, the bottom is not doing this. So you pick up on the back, you slide only the front edge, and then set it down. Don't do this, because if you do that, you're going to pinch a chicken foot. Oops. You're going to pinch a chicken foot, and then you're going to have a chicken bleeding out of its foot, and you're going to go there in the morning and you're going to find a dead chicken. We didn't do that. We caught it as it was bleeding, and it was enough blood and it wasn't clotting, so we went ahead and we just quickly processed that chicken that night before the next morning. So just be mindful of that as you're sliding the crates around into a pickup, into a bobcat, into a trailer, to lift up on the back edge, or have 2 people hang on to it and keep it up off the trailer or whatever you're sliding it on until you gently set it down. Listen for a squawk. Listen for distress peeps, I like to call them, from the chickens. The chickens will let you know if they have a toe pinched, so listen for that to make sure that you're not pinching any toes and all that stuff. To catch about 150 chickens, it took us about 45 minutes to an hour, start to finish. And we're staging them right next to our killing cones. You want to keep the distance between each step of your processing as short as possible, so we're staging these all in a line, and we're keeping about 3 to 4 inches of space. That's not written down anywhere, that's just what we feel is enough space for just air flow to kind of get around them. So we stacked them 3 high and leave about, like I said, 3, 4, 5, 6 inches in between each stack of 3 crates going down, just so that air can get around them. And of course, if it's super duper cold, if it's going to be 20 degrees, you're going to want to give them some sort of shelter. If it's going to rain that night, you can stack them 3 high and put a particle board on top. You don't want to do like a tarp that you're covering the whole crates with, because then you can have suffocated chickens. You don't want that. You want good ventilation. But if it's raining, which did happen when we were processing when we were staging the chickens one evening before we processed, we took some scrap boards that were around there and put them over top of the chickens after we unloaded them, so that the rain that was coming off the roof didn't all dump on the chickens and get in their feathers and make them wet, because if you get a wet chicken at night, you're likely to find a dead chicken in the morning. And so you don't want that either. So be mindful of the weather as you're catching the chickens for processing. Be mindful of where you're staging them, If you get half an inch of rain, you might think, oh, the chickens are fine, it's just half an inch of rain. But if they're underneath the eave of the building you're processing on, a half an inch of rain times however many square foot your roof is can add up to a lot of rain coming off of that eave. So be mindful of that as well. After doing this, I strongly suggest you catch your chickens the evening before. It saves you a lot of time and stress in the morning. It makes the process go super smooth. It's cooler, so you're more comfortable when you're doing the work. You are catching chickens that are very tame. They kind of nest down for the night. They kind of, I call it zombie mode. They kind of go into zombie mode. They don't really notice you're there. They're a lot easier to catch. They don't move around as much. That's a huge help. I think it saves a lot of time. And it's a lot less that can go wrong. And it keeps the process going super smooth. When you're processing chickens, there's a lot going on. It's super duper helpful to have your chickens staged, ready to go in the crates first thing in the morning, so that you're not running around all over the place, or someone's catching chickens and someone's processing, or we have to not process yet. Okay, well, I got to go catch chickens. It's hot. It's in the morning. It stinks. The chickens are super active and flighty and running away from you and all this stuff. So the Joel Salatin style chicken tractor really worked fine for us. We built them so that they would be heavy enough to kind of hug the ground and all that stuff, but easy enough to pick up with two people. And it worked really well. It went really smooth catching these chickens. So that's it, guys. This video might be a little longer than I expected it to be. I talked a lot, but I hope that's a lot of good information for you guys who are looking to get into chickens. If you are already doing chickens, I hope this might give you guys a little information that can save you time, save you money, I guess. How can it save you money? I don't know. It might be able to save you money. You guys will figure that out, I guess. But I hope we got some information that's helpful to you guys. So, thank you guys for watching. Processing video coming up. The year is almost coming to an end. I usually do a rewind video. I did a rewind video last year. I haven't been doing this very long. I don't know if I'll have time to do one this year, but there's really no point in doing a rewind video before the year's over. So you don't rewind a video before it ends, right? So I guess it kind of makes sense for me to do one at the beginning of next year to rewind this year, because this year isn't done yet. Who knows what could happen? It's a really crazy world right now. With that said, thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, please leave a like. Hello to all my new subscribers. Oh my goodness, a video of mine is kind of going viral right now, which is blowing my mind. Over 20,000 views, which is insane. Thank you guys so much. Welcome, welcome, welcome to all the new subscribers. I keep squeaking my printer. I'm so happy you guys are here. I'm really hoping that I'm making some videos that are helping you guys out, helping you avoid mistakes that I have made, so that you guys can do it better than I have done in the future. So, I think that's it. Thank you. Like, comment, subscribe, notifications on, all that jazz, and I will see you guys in the next video. We'll see you.